AyinBase 13. I don't remember if we started beyond the parentheses. I think we're still inside the parentheses. So we'll start, go through quickly this parentheses, which kind of encapsulates the principle. And the line begins hamshachato, about a quarter from the top of the page, AyinBase 13. And what we're saying is that the kav comes through the tzimtzum, comes after the tzimtzum, and it comes from, even though it comes from the oil shelifnei tzimtzum, but it comes through the tzimtzum, and it's nimshach to the reshimu. And this reshimu brings out the koyach gvuli. And this is what he's going to explain in the parentheses. We'll try to discuss the principle koyach gvuli and koyach bli gvul. Zehu klalus inyan hatzimtzum. This is the overall, the general principle of the tzimtzum. So, hu b'derech klal. In general, the union of tzimtzum is the purpose of the tzimtzum is the aim of the tzimtzum. Shehiya be'efon acher l'nikmei shehoyim keder. That it should be that the oil should be in a different manner than it was before. This is the general principle of a tzimtzum. In other words, there's a normal flow, a normal gilui from the etzem, and that gilui is fully representative of the etzem, and therefore there is no possibility of some mitzias surfacing. There's a tzimtzum, and the tzimtzum provides for the possibility that the oil should be in a different manner than it was before. In other words, not a straight flow, but something that has the element of innovation, of creation, something novel. In different manner than it was before. That before the tzimtzum, everything was b'bchinas ein sof in the ein sof manner, as we discussed yesterday. In the ein sof manner means that there is not a question, where is this coming from? It didn't have boundaries. It has the principle of ein sof. It is there because it is there. The koyach hagvul, and thus the koyach hagvul, Hoya behelam agamri. was totally in a concealed state. And we'll revisit these words in a few moments. V'yin ha-tzimtzum hu, and thus the object of the tzimtzum is sheyiyeh his galos bechin as koyach hagvul. That the bechin of koyach hagvul, the aspect of koyach hagvul, should surface. V'gam ha-bli gulul, and even the bli gvul yoveh b'bechin as koyach gvuli, should come through and should be present in a manner of koyach gvuli, of a finite koyach. What is the difference between, we discussed yesterday, what is the difference between koyach gvuli and koyach bli gvul? The principle of koyach gvuli is that the koyach, as it functions, naturally represents a boundary. What am I about? That's enough from koyach gvuli. Koyach gvuli has to explain itself. What am I about? What is my function? Koyach bli gvul does not. So the tzimtzum affects the revelation of this inyan. What is this about? And that provides ultimately that the oil should be able to be contained in kelim and develop the whole seder ishtalshelus. This last few words, that the bli gvul in Yahweh bebchinas koyach gvuli, that is clearly quite a different thing, a difficult thing to explain. The principle in this inyan that the bli gvul should acquire a bechina, a quality of koyach gvuli, so I'll try to expose it with a motion like Chila Somas does. Life, koyach bli gvul bayas is the union of rotzen and oineg, and life itself. Seichel is already in a contained, in a focused, and a koyach gvuli manner. But life itself is bli gvul. And it relates to the bli gvul, as we explained many times, an interesting phenomenon. It's mind-boggling how everything that Eibishter has revealed on every level. That even on the physical level, life which consists in breathing, that's what's called neshama, in breathing, and breathing is in a manner of bli gvul. I don't know if you were previous and discussed this in breathing. It seems that we are breathing in and out. It's true we're breathing in and out. But what makes the air come into our lungs? Our action of breathing in? It's not. It comes in automatically. Because there is a huge 500 miles of air. The atmosphere is 500 miles up. And that creates a tremendous air pressure. So all you have to do is open up and allow the air to come in. It forces itself in automatically. Anybody know how a vacuum cleaner works? Hello? No. You do?
Yeah.
Take over for a moment, please.
Mechanics of a vacuum cleaner?
Not mechanics. There's a motor. I'm asking you to explain the motor. the principle of vacuum cleaner.
Creates a vacuum, the air flows in.
Oh,
Creates a vacuum into which the air is pulled.
how is the air pulled into a vacuum?
Let's say that wherever there's a vacuum, the air will flow into it.
Oh, it does. In other words, the mechanical function is that there is a propeller, so to speak, and that pushes the air out of the machine. Once you push the air out, that creates a vacuum. So the atmospheric air pushes itself into this vacuum, and as it's pushing itself in, the force of its push pushes all the dirt also in there.
That's automatic.
But that's automatic because the pressure, you don't move the air in. You just make a vacuum, and the air pushes itself in.
Creating a place.
You're creating a vacuum. A vacuum means that there is a different, a lesson in physics there. Different pressure outside than inside, and that pressure equalizes by pushing itself in.
You suck it in.
Huh?
You don't call it sucking it in.
It doesn't suck it in. The effect is sucking it. It doesn't suck it in at all. The air atmospheric is pushing it in. It's not nothing sucking it in.
You have to push out the old air.
Making
What?
space.
In order to, if you put by pushing out the old air, you're making.
You're making a vacuum, and then the air comes in. The phenomenon of life, of physical life, is very similar. Yes, we need fresh air all the time, but it is not that we are gasping for the fresh air and we take it in. That would not be the experience of life. Life is something which is provided, which comes from the source of life. And so the way that actually works out is that when naturally the lungs push out the carbon dioxide, the unclean air, then that creates a vacuum in the lungs, and then the air automatically pushes in through the nostrils. In other words, the life element itself, this is the point, the life element itself provides for itself. It comes into you. You don't have to take it. Anything that you take is not life. You can take food in. If you have to take in life, that's not the experience of life at all. Life is something which is provided by the overall life. That's the experience everybody has. Sometimes you go into breath of fresh air. You go into the open space. But what is that? Because then you feel the life coming into you. This is life itself. This is like a blig gvul element. However, with this blig gvul element, blig gvul, as we said before, does not explain what am I about. Which is, I'm just there. After the tzimtzum, the blig gvul comes with b'chinas gvul. Now we can identify what is life. What is this about? In other words, it is really functions like a blig gvul, but it is within the realm of gvul. You can identify it. This is what the effect of the tzimtzum is. The blig gvul, bo b'chinas gvul. In other words, in the blig gvul itself, you can identify the process by which it functions. Even though essentially it is a blig gvul function. So I just wanted to explain these words because as we know that we don't like to skip words without explaining it to some extent.
I don't know if you're going to get back to this, but I'm still a bit unclear about what it means the koyach of the wall of the Ein Sof. Like what?
Okay, כדי שיהיה באופן כזה, and so that it should be in this manner, which is the opposite of what it was before. That even koyach habli gvul comes bibchinas in a manner that qualifies it as a koyach gvuli. Shuhu behepech legamri mehakoydim, which is totally the exact opposite from what before, from the preceding. So the chli is tzimtzum otzum. There must be a powerful tzimtzum. What is the koyach gvuli? This is exactly what we explained. Koyach gvuli pardon me, means that the koyach functions in a focused, intended manner. Like we say, the Hashem says, "Mokem shelitzinu shalodem shomahu." Mokem shelitzinu shalodem shomahu. The place where the person wants to, where his rotzen is, that's where he is. This is the bli gvul in the human being. The place where his rotzen is, that's where he is. But then, to actually be there, he has to recognize that this is a mokim and this is a mokim, and there is a certain distance between them, and you have to cover this distance. And it's still part of the same bli gvul. You're going there because that's where you are. But it is not contained in a gvul manner. This is at koyach gvul. Koyach gvul should be in such with the pshat that even when you come down, so to speak, to the body level, like I say, now this rotzin, this nefesh is mislabish in the goof, and the goof is b'mokim uzman, is in a certain place in a certain time. This element of the nefesh, does not dissipate completely. It's still there, but it is there b'eifun gvuli. What is the eifun gvuli? That now I can be what I want to be by covering the distance. We have to understand, as we're learning this, that whatever takes place in our physical environment, in a human life, always has a makif aura to it. What am I doing? A person cannot walk nowhere. You took the bli gvul and defined a gvul level. Okay, this is the direction. Okay, this is tzorich liyas between tzimtzum otzum. It has to be a tzimtzum otzum, a powerful tzimtzum, not just a tzimtzum. It's not a powerful tzimtzum. Just a tzimtzum means it reduces the oil. Powerful tzimtzum means it completely eliminates the oil, because you have to create something which is totally opposite of what was before. To bring it down to our level, to bring this statement down to our level, in a so to speak, in an avoida element, din of tshuva, requires that a complete change, a fundamental change in a person's outlook. Not just an activity, but an outlook. And there are many different levels in this. The ultimate tshuva is when you see things the exact opposite from what you saw before. I remember there was a Baltshuva, Gerim, a family of Gerim over here. I don't remember their name. They lived here on Crown Street. He was a whole educated man, and so and seemed to be very, very serious and very focused and all that. And what turned out, eventually, they reverted back. What turned out eventually, that he became a ger because he figured he's going to be a schwarze ger, a schwarze ger.
He was.
Yeah, and he's going to make a focus. He's going to create a whole movement. He's going to be on top of the movement. He's going to create a platform for himself. When he saw it's not happening, he said, "You have to be Avro Bel Velakov. I don't need this mishigas." He didn't behave with his wife and all that. This was his intent to begin with. Remember that? It was a tragic thing. Yeah. Family with kids, and the kids became enemies of ours. They used to throw stones. And he was almost, oh, this is for real. The tzimtzum has to effectuate that. You have to know that ultimately it has to go to the point, it doesn't happen suddenly, that you cannot build your life on the principles that you had before, but I'm going to use a different method. I'm going to be a great person, but in a different environment, in a different society. That's not the way it works. It has to be a complete change, different achel, gamri, totally from before, new principles, and what one seeks after the tzimtzum is totally a different aim completely than what he saw before. Okay. Or Mikom Okim after the parenthesis. Mikom Okim, yet still, even though that the Kav went through the tzimtzum Otsu, because the Kav brought out the Koyach HaGvul. And Koyach HaGvul, Koyach Gvuli, as we said before, which means every action, every function has a definitive place. What is it about? This is totally opposite the from Bli Gvul. Yet still, hamshachato, this drawing of the kav hu b'bchinas kiruv me'erin soif shelifnei hatzimtzum. It has a quality of being kiruv, and being close, not distant, not broken away, but it has a closeness to the Ayin soif shelifnei hatzimtzum. The Ayin Sof that preceded the tzimtzum. In other words, despite the fact that it is a completely different oir, it is still cognizant of the inyan of the Ayin Sof. And he elaborates a little bit. The big day she gili akav min hankud nakud reshimu. Which means that so that there should be the kav, the gili hakav, the kav should surface from the nakuv to the reshimu. The reshimu is a complete contraction of the oir, and there is nothing but a trace of it. And from this nakuda draws the kav. in order that there should be a draw of the card from the reshimu. Zehu alidei hakirov the Ein Sof. This is affected by the kirov the Ein Sof, by the Ein Sof being close, connected. Shechoizer umeyer achar tzimtzum. That it then reverts back and reveals itself after the tzimtzum. Let us, okay, these are words which we already had. Let us again put it in perspective in something that we can actually relate to. The motion for tzimtzum is a very common motion. That if a Rav wants to explain something to a Talmud, he cannot begin to explain it to him as it is in his own experience, in his own view. By him, this is b'bchinas Ein Sof. He sees b'bchinas Ein Sof. In other words, things that he needs to explain to a Talmud, by him this is a primary knowledge. I don't even understand why I have to explain it. It's the reality itself. In order for him to even begin to talk to the Talmud, he has to first distract himself, step away from his own view of things that are based on Ein Sof, intellectual Ein Sof, and then recognize the Talmud and see, okay, what am I trying to bring to the Talmud, and how am I going to bring it to him? When he identifies what he wants to explain ultimately to the Talmud, he wants the Talmud to know such and such. I'll give you a mashal from the secular world. The mathematics, the method of mathematics, generally speaking, is formed in the form of a formula. In other words, certain things are worked out, and you know that to measure a certain geometric field, use this formula. You know what I'm talking about. These are coming in geometry or algebra. There's always these formulas. It's always presented formulas. You want to teach him this formula. You want to teach him how to figure out the square root of something or the size of a certain cube. And you give him the formula. If you're going to give him the formula, then you're depriving him of all the intellectual, of all the understanding of it. That's not fair. That's not the way to teach. Yes, indeed, you have to first, you have to formulate your thoughts to a precise formula. But then when you're going to present the formula to him, you have to give him the whole background, how you got to it. And if you fail to give him the background, you are depriving him of real thing. You're not really teaching him. You can't start from the background. You start from the formula and say, see, this is here because of this is because of this, and ultimately you have the total overview. And if you don't give him the overview, and if you don't have the overview while you explain it to him, you can't even explain it to him. Because it has no meaning. So this is a similar Indian as we're saying over here. That there has to be a tzimtzum. But then, after the tzimtzum, there is a reshimu. Just like in the case of Moshel, you still remain in the idea. This is what I want to transmit. I want to know something. It's not that it sounds in the seichel, but I have left with a formula. I'm left with the ratio. With the bottom line. Now I want to produce this ratio. Through this ratio, I have to bring back the whole perspective. And if you don't, then you're not giving him anything. This choice of nimshach connects back to the essential seichel, that which you could not be transmitted to the Talmud initially. But now you're taking this essential seichel and you're funneling it through the reshimu, through the tzimtzum, and then you're able to explain it. Yes.
In the mashal, the roshim is the formula.
What?
The roshim in the mashal is the formula.
Yeah.
So it includes everything, but in a completely concealed manner.
That's right.
In the nimsha, what's the roshim?
The nakuda of the Elisab, the nakuda, the nakuda of the truth of the Elohos, the tzimtzum contracted the whole thing into a nakuda. Okay, have a great day. This is it.